Good morning, all. We welcome you here to Fairfield and all the folks out there on Zoom land as well. We're always pleased that you're here. Y'all know me pretty well. My name's Larry Cordray, and I forget stuff. So I've got a list here. So if you'll turn your cell phones to mute or airplane mode, that helps us with our Zoom thing, because our web band isn't long enough or big enough or crooked enough or something. And we're going to begin with the song as soon as I find it in the book. It's Worship and Song 326, and I won't stand close to the microphone while we're singing, so you'll all be blessed with that today. So let us break bread together. Please stand if you're able, and 326. See, I forgot where I put it. It's time for our centering thought. And I got asked to be up here last week, and Amanda asked me, and you just can't tell her no. We've watched her grow from a young lady to a fine young woman to a wonderful teacher and a great person, and so you just can't say no to those kind of people. So I spent a lot of time this week and thought I could give a 25-minute thing, and then I remembered that ministry and council said I was supposed to keep it to 3, so I had to rethink everything. It's Valentine's Day weekend, and we're all about love, Valentines. We mailed our 16 Valentines out to our grandkids on Thursday. With the post office like it is today, I hope they get them by next Thursday. But that's the changing world that we live in. And that's about love and our immediate things. And I've had a good experience a couple times the last 2 weeks or so. I wear one of those little buttons that says, "Love thy neighbor, no exceptions," on my jacket. And I've had a couple people comment that they really like that button. And I thank them, and I really like that button as well. So we've had hard times throughout the time, hard times throughout my time in life. My favorite president was the first president that I remember, vaguely, and that was Harry Truman. So that gives you a little bit of idea about the history I've experienced. And I remember being at Ball State University, and we had a little problem over in Ohio with the National Guard and 4 Kent State students. Not vastly different from the problem we're having today. It was a protest time, different subject, same situation, similar outcome. So I think a lot about that. I think a lot about the things that we are today. I get tickled some because of the history I've had. I've seen all 60 Super Bowls. Therefore, I've seen all 60 halftimes. And I don't remember much about any of them. And I suspect in a couple years, this last one will kind of fade away too. Except for maybe one thing. And that was a big sign. It was on the billboard as he was jumping around and entertaining us about that the only thing stronger than hate is love. And I've thought a lot about that. And I thought about our Quaker beliefs and a lot of Christian beliefs. And the one thing I'm going to stop before this goes on to 25 minutes, and that is we sing a song here regularly, and it says, "You'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love." It's time for our morning announcements, and we will start with Zoom. If anybody out there has an announcement they'd like to make, please unmute yourself and share with us. Any announcements this morning here in the meeting room?
Beth Simon's here. I'd like to announce we have our writing group today at 1 o'clock. And also, if you are a contributor to the newsletter, I'm going to start working on that this week. And if you could have it to me by Friday, that would be great. And if not, just let me know.
It's just easy this way. I'm Randy Horton. I'm your presiding clerk, and I just want to remind you. Oh, Anita, are you out there? Maybe. Okay. I hope I'm not preempting you. We will be having our monthly meeting for business at the Rise of Worship, but I do understand we have a treat beforehand. We've got a nice soup lunch to have. Okay. Now you know.
Yes, there's a pot of soup for people who are going to the business meeting out in the kitchen. There's not enough for everybody that came to worship. But remember, that is a meeting for worship with a concern for business. So, anyway, there's a pot of soup out there. If you're staying for a monthly meeting, just go on out to the kitchen, help yourself. There's soup and crackers and a few stray things left over from chat room. So, simple lunch, get back in here, and we can conduct business with full stomachs. So, it's gluten-free, it's everything. Oh, back there, sorry.
I'm Joanne Gulley, and I convene the women's book group, and we are meeting next Sunday at noon for a pitch-in and conversation. That's all we're doing. We're talking. We're carbs and conversation is what I like to call it. I've never met either one that I didn't like. So bring something to pitch in, women, and we'll chat and get caught up. Thank you.
Anita Kirchhoff. I'm with the Outreach Committee, and the week of March 9th, we are making a food delivery to Kunat Food Pantry. We would like to ask if you are shopping, we could use more spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. Those are really quick meals, healthy meals, and also some more canned fruit. We're getting a lot of canned vegetables and soup, which is great, but we could use some more fruit. We greatly appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Josiah Hostetler. I have a few announcements, so please bear with me. I have a paper form for the sign up for the Spring Peace Churches Tour, which is Friday, April 24th through Sunday, April 26th. So if you'd like a paper copy of that, it's linked in the newsletter online as well. On Wednesday, which is Ash Wednesday, there will be a worshipful presence at the Clay County Courthouse in honor of the many people that are held there, up to 300 at a time, in the ICE detention there at Clay County. That goes from 4 to 5, so please feel free to join us there. It will be sponsored by many churches in the area, and hope to have a few friends there as well. There's also on this coming Thursday, February 19th, a religious liberty at 2:50, an ideal, a necessity, and a work in progress at Christ Church Cathedral on the Circle. And the speakers will be Cleet Ladd and Wesley Bishop. This is sponsored by CIC and kicks off the public events for the religious liberty at 2:50 that Fairfield is participating in. That starts at 6 and goes until 7:30.
Well, last week I received an email from a college professor who teaches philosophy, and he's writing a book about what he calls petitionary prayer. I can't count the times I've been contacted by college professors writing books. Well, actually, I can. This was the first time. And he wrote saying, I'm a philosopher working on questions about petitionary prayer. I've written extensively about the classical puzzles that arise from asking an all-knowing, all-powerful God to change the world. But lately, I have turned my attention to something I call quasi-petitionary prayer. And this involves bringing a situation or concern before God without asking for anything in particular. He goes on, one of my projects is about the relationship between quasi-petitionary prayer and the Quaker practice of holding someone in the light. He said in correspondence with the Quaker scholars Stephen Angel, and we've had Stephen here at the meeting before, and another Quaker scholar from England whose name is Ben Pink Dandelion, who I actually met, and I asked him, Ben Pink Dandelion, that is certainly an unusual name, where did you get it? And he said, well, Ben is an old family name. That cleared that up for me. But he said, in correspondence with them, he has conjectures that, and wondered if I had any reactions to it, that both Stephen and Ben don't recall hearing the phrase, hold you in the light. It wasn't part of our early history. They never heard of it before the 1980s. and they both suspected it arose among liberal Quakers as a kind of accommodation to the rise in non-theistic members for whom the concept of traditional intercessory prayer would have been off the table. The phrase holding in the light, he went on, is ambiguous enough that non-theists can say it and do it without reference to the God of traditional theism, or so it seems to function in the circles I travel in. Do you have any sense of the history of this? He asked me. That was his question. Do you have any sense of the history of this? Well, I don't know the history of it, and I wrote and told him so. But I've been thinking about it ever since, especially since we're a holding in the light kind of meeting. But do we say, I'll hold you in the light, because we are reluctant to say, I'll ask God to heal your sick child? Because what if God doesn't heal their sick child? What if prayer doesn't work that way? I'm just asking the questions. I don't know what your answer to them would be and wouldn't presume to tell you what they ought to be. But I can tell you that at a pivotal moment in my life as a pastor, I stopped praying for people and started holding them in the light. Let me tell you why and when that happened. I was pastoring at Irvington Friends Meeting. It happened 34 years ago when a young couple in the congregation, expecting their first child, discovered after a routine blood test related to her pregnancy that the expectant mother had an aggressive form of cancer and would die without immediate treatment. The doctors told her they couldn't begin treatment while she was pregnant, that it would kill the fetus. So if she lived, she would have to terminate the pregnancy, which was by then well advanced. This young woman had grown up in a deeply religious home. So no one was surprised when she decided to continue the pregnancy, hoping that after delivering a healthy child, God would heal her. The child was born, 10 fingers, 10 toes, happy, fit, and the next week the mother began treatment. And every Sunday at meeting, we prayed for her to be healed, as did her parents, who sat by her hospital bedside every day, asking God to cure their daughter. I visited the hospital several times each week, each time praying with the family, asking God to heal this young mother. We prayed so often and so fervently that after a while we began to believe God would answer our prayers. How could God not? We couldn't imagine God not answering our prayers. Nevertheless, she died. And when she died, my prayer life died with her. I no longer ask God to do this thing or that thing. I no longer ask God to intervene in space and time to achieve a certain outcome. I found myself in a spiritual crisis. I had just started to write and even thought of leaving pastoral ministry to focus on writing so people would no longer ask me to pray for them. People don't expect writers to pray, something they regularly expect from their pastors. Not long before that, I had heard the phrase, "I will hold you in the light," and began using it, knowing its ambiguity gave me a theological out if something went south. It let me off the hook. But what began as an implement of protection instead became a meaningful practice. Today, when I promise to hold someone in the light, I am not asking God to miraculously or magically intervene in their lives, something God doesn't seem inclined to do, at least as often as or in the manner we would like God to. Rather, what I am promising is that insofar as I am able, I will embody the love and light of God to those people who are hurting. I will, insofar as I am able, walk alongside those victimized by hardship and hate. I will, insofar as I am able, do justice in the midst of injustice, practice mercy in the midst of cruelty, and tell the truth when all about us the world is drowning in lies. Praying is asking God to do something. But when we promise to hold someone in the light, we become the doers. We no longer ask God to heal. We commit ourselves to lives of healing. We no longer ask God to tend the poor. We commit ourselves to lives of generosity and selflessness. We no longer ask God to magically intervene. We commit our lives and ourselves to connection and support. When we do this, holding someone in the light becomes less a saying and more a way of life. Not just for people of faith, but for all people everywhere. Now here's what it looks like in real practice. We learned this week that ICE is leaving Minneapolis, where they have been hard at work targeting people of color, sometimes with no regard for their citizenship or criminal history. We've all seen it on TV. It was intended from the very start to terrorize our non-white brothers and sisters, and it would have worked. It would have worked had not the citizens of Minneapolis resolved to hold their city in the light. In the midst of injustice, they became the face of justice. In the midst of fear, they became the face of courage. In the midst of oppression, they became the face of liberty. In so doing, they held themselves, their neighbors, and their cities in the light. It happened right before our eyes. We saw it happen. They did what this government has wholly refused to do, and they won the day because they walked in the light. They held others in the light, and the darkness could not overcome them. Cynthia Striegelmeyer, I bet you sang the song Holy, Holy, Holy when you were a Lutheran, didn't you? Yes. Could you come up here and lead us and show us how it is done by a Lutheran? Friends, let us stand and sing together our closing hymn, Holy, Holy, Holy. And if we could have some volunteers up to gather food for Kunat and other needs, we would be grateful.
Look out.
Our experiment continues. I asked you to think of the person you admire most in the world, and think of them again, and also think of the person you love least in the world. Bring them to mind and hold them there. And then imagine the person you admire most embracing the person you love the least. And bringing love and mercy and healing and compassion and goodness. And now you know what you must do this week. Amen. Turn to Greek friends.